your appraiser of the Tinubu government for the last 1 year plus, what would it be?
It will be poor attempts, and it will be missed opportunities. And if I'm to tell them, there's a lot of room for improvement.
When you say poor, if you were to grade it, and academically speaking, 10 being the highest, 0 being the lowest, when you mean poor, how would you grade this government?
Well, 20 percentile, maybe 22%. So if you have a student who scores 22%, you know, that's it. If to be fair to them, 22%, because in some areas they made attempts, in some areas they just threw away the opportunities. So they have not used, and that's how I measure it. I measure it by how much of the opportunities for growth and development have they taken. They've taken less than 22%. You will even notice that even the Speaker of the House of Representatives, when the President addressed the joint session of the National Assembly, remarked that the 2024 budget had not been fully implemented. And you will see that even the 2024 budget has now been extended by the National Assembly to almost the middle of this year. So that's they haven't taken opportunity. So it's not about a personal measurement, it's just an objective metric of how far they have done in terms of dealing with the issues. And you will see the implication of that in terms of, for example, how much employment have they generated. You see, they haven't even taken unemployment down by 22%. If you look at inflation, they've worsened it. If you look at poverty index, they've worsened it. So the measurement is not just a political measurement. It's a measurement based on data coming from within their own government.
Anyone will know that before you enter into governance, you must have a vision driven by good intentions. From that, you have to have a strategy. Then put up a plan. From your plan, accountability comes, and focus in delivering on those vision that you have. If you look at those dynamics and those templates that I've reeled out, would you say that this government has a clear-cut vision? Do they have good intentions? Because in that way, a lot of people will say they met a lot of rot on the ground. Things were terrible. But look, if we judge this government based on what has been met on the ground, there are those who believe that even if your likes had won the election, you would have experienced a horrible, terrible situation on the ground. Economy was in shambles. Insecurity was a major problem. Whichever person had won the election, a lot of analysts said would have met a lot of problems and challenges on the ground. But would you say the vision and intention of the Tinubu leadership is in the right place?
When you are elected into an office, you meet what you meet there. But if you study very well before you come in, you can almost predict what you will meet. Like now, if it pleases God and they want to replace Tinubu administration in 2027, we already know what they are doing. We know what we are likely to meet there. So the level of surprise should not be that radical. You should know what you're meeting. You are watching a match and it's halftime and your team is 3 goals down. You already know. You've been watching the match. So it's not when you take over as a coach that you discover that you're 3 goals down, because you've been watching the match from the beginning of the match. You know you're 3 goals down. Then what do you do next? Do you remove the goalkeeper, who actually is the best player there? Do you remove the captain of the team? Do you change the form? So the moment you take over, you should stop talking about the fact that you were 3 goals down. You start to be accountable for the action you took when you took over, because subsequently you met 3 goals down when you came in, but since you came in, you have considered 5 goals. So you cannot be complaining about the 3 goals you met on the ground. President Tinubu, from our assessment of him, is very sincere. However, he's sincerely wrong in the approach he has used so far.
Okay, let's take it one after the other. You think that he has good intention and is sincere, but he has a wrong approach.
That's correct. There are 3 errors. Number 1 error is that he wanted to do fiscal management, which you have to do in government. He wanted to do fiscal reform, which is to say, I don't like the idea that government is spending so much money on certain things like subsidy, petroleum subsidy, like funding try to defend the naira by actually throwing your money at it, and that was causing a lot of deficit in the government financing, which deficit was also creating monetary problem. So what did he do? He removed the subsidy in a manner in which factor cost started rising, inflation started rising, creating problem for the central bank on how to manage inflation and foreign exchange. Now, at the same time, it's still running deficit anyway. So you see the problem. So it caused ripples in the larger economy, but the original problem he wanted to solve, he still hasn't solved it. All the money saved in the name of subsidy removal, all the money disappeared. He's still having to borrow more. So now the money diverted from subsidy has not raised employment in the economy. So there's no way you could say, oh, since they came, employment numbers have become more positive. So that's why I said the approach he took is wrong. Then if you look at the system he wants to run, which is a neoliberal system which he has the right to run, he has the mandate to do what he wants to do because he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do when he was campaigning. The problem is that the way he has set up his economic team, there's no sign that they are proactive. They are only reacting to the consequences of their earlier actions. So they are perpetually defending, perpetually behind. So the economic team is not nimble enough, it's not sharp enough. Even if he doesn't go outside his party to look for people to run the economic team, within his party, he has enough talent there. Along that, they are within the rubric of their own belief. He has not used even the best of the APC people. So, and you will see in a few places where he got the appointment right, you will see that within the same milieu. Let me give you an example that will tell you that the story of what I met on the ground is not a valid thing to say. Imagine if Wike had been saying, oh, I met the FCT, no street light, the roads are... He's not saying that. He goes straight to the business and he's doing it and you can see it. So, you look at the guy in the interior. He didn't say, oh, what I met on the ground. Oh, millions of passports, backlog, all of that. He's not doing that. So every time you watch the TV, where do you see President Tinubu go? He goes to FCT to open one road. He goes to Sauka or somewhere in the Ministry of Interior to do one technological system or the other. So imagine if he was doing that in marine and blue economy. If he was doing that in agriculture.
Does that economy does that ministry?
They're just singing blues there right now. So if he goes there and do something like that in agriculture, the first minister he shows was quarreling with children that they were going to school too early, the age of 18 and all of that. There's a lot of money in the education sector. A lot of money there that could have been used to transform university, create employment, expand the faculty. They don't do any of those things. So that's why I'm saying that the president himself, I understand his vision, I don't agree with it, but I understand him. What he is trying to do is that I will soften the Nigerian economy and I will get Nigerians used to a bit of suffering and I will soften the economy, then foreign investment will come by way of foreign direct investment. But none of that has happened. And what it hasn't happened is that the environment is not macroeconomically stable enough for foreign investors to look at how local investors are reacting. I have money in my pocket and I'm watching President Tinubu's budget. I haven't seen anything in this year's budget that suggests to me that I should bring that little money in my pocket and risk it in the economy. Therefore, my partner who is in China, Indonesia, anywhere, or USA, will also be more skeptical. So what I want us to understand is that they should stop talking about what they met on the ground. Apart from the fact that their party has been in power for 9 years, but I don't want to go into politics, they should stop talking about what they met on the ground because what they met on the ground is what they used to campaign. They knew what they would meet on the ground. So there's no excuse about it.
But realistically, if you became president in 2023, did you imagine that this was a quantum of challenge that you would have met if you were
I was expecting worse.